Yeah, just to jump off, I saw that you've been with Top of Mind for a really long time, and I just wanted to kind of hear a little bit about that, how you got involved. Did were you one of the starters of the company? Yeah, just give me your background and that long period of time. It's unusual to see somebody with a company for that long nowadays.
Yeah, no, I was one of the three founders. And the other two have since moved on, but yeah, so I'm our longest tenured employee. I've been here since the beginning.
Yeah. So how did it all start?
Uh, so I, Mark was kind of the main founder. It was kind of his idea and his vision. Um, and it was, a simple. He was a consumer. He was a borrower, just like everybody else. And I think, and I haven't told the story in a while, so if I butcher it, forgive me. But it was, I think, 2003. He moved to Atlanta from LA or San Francisco. Um, he and his wife, they bought a condo in Buckhead, because they didn't know where they wanted to live. So they bought a condo, lived there, uh, worked in Atlanta for a little while, got to know the area, and figured out, okay, well now now I know where I want to live and raise a family. So they bought an even bigger home. You know, out in, I don't know if they were in the suburbs or whatever. It doesn't matter, but they couldn't remember the guy's name that did their mortgage, and so they ended up using somebody else. And that just got him thinking, like, I know how much money this mortgage person just made on my loan that's commission. He just basically flushed another couple $1,000s out the toilet by not keeping in touch with me. Like, the fact that I didn't remember his name is tragic. So there's an opportunity there. And that's kind of how the idea came to be. And then
Right.
so he and Shay, who's the third partner, and I got together and kind of built it out. It was originally, we were not even a technology company. We started out just sending mail.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so it was like a 5 year follow up campaign. Thank you card, birthday cards, surveys, and so for a couple of years of my early career, I was literally stuffing envelopes and licking envelopes and stamping. And coding. I was kind of coding our stuff as we were doing it, so it was uh, you know just pure startup mode where everyone's doing everything.
Absolutely, yeah. So, how did the technology of the portion of the company start to evolve? Was it needs that you saw every day?
More or less, it so the very early on, we were actually running the database out of Act. I don't know if you remember Act or not. It was like a very early, just like desktop software, contact management type thing, and
Okay.
that's where we were running everything out of. But we found out quickly that did not scale. So I was responsible for building out our initial product, our initial architecture, our initial database, and I did that. And then, as that was done and we were using it, our customers were like, "Hey, it'd be really neat if I could log in and view my database, and like if someone moves, I could update their address." So we said, "Hey, great idea," and we built that. Shortly thereafter, it was, "Hey, it'd be really neat if we could log into the same database and send some emails." So we built that, and it just kind of slowly, gradually turned into a more of a software play than it did a postal mail play. And we still do postal mail fulfillment. We actually have our own production facility. We outsource the vast majority of it now, since we have significantly higher volume than we did, but we still do some stuff in house. But I would say shortly after the financial crash of '08 was when we really started to come out as a technology company versus a just a print mail campaign company.
Okay. So that's interesting. I didn't know you. So I definitely, from my perspective, view you guys as a CRM, but you're still doing
Yep.
mail fulfillment today.
Yeah, we are.
Wow. I did
And
not.
but again, we have outsourced probably 95% of it. There's certain kind of niche things we do in house internally because it's too expensive to outsource, but we do outsource everything else now to
Okay.
people with big $1 million printers.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yep.
So as that was evolving, what were some of the key things that you wanted to make sure that was it always in that's the first question.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there. I don't know if that was me or you, but can you repeat that?
Sure. Where I got to was, as you were starting to build these things, was it always envisioned as a CRM? Is that how it started?
I don't know if CRM was even really a thing back then. Like that was I think now it's a pretty common term.
Yeah.
And back in the early days, we were not coming in replacing an incumbent. It was a new idea that especially your mid market and lower, they had nothing. They were using Outlook and Excel. So so I don't think we really even understood what a CRM was until 2010, and then just because we were slowly becoming it, but we didn't even know what it was. And then
Yeah.
once we kind of put two and two together, that is kind of where the direction started going.
Okay. That
But
makes
it's more than just CRM too, because we do a lot of different stuff, and so we like to refer to ourselves as just the easy button for marketing automation and contact management for mortgage companies. So it's not just CRM, it's marketing automation, it's flyers, single property sites, um, closing gifts. Like we have a lot of different stuff that we do under one roof for an originator.
that's great. I really like that tagline. Can you say that one more time? The easy button.
Yes, we're the easy button for your mortgage marketing automation needs, I think is how I phrased it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great one. It's so when people are asking about Sales Boomerang, we always say, we let you know when your borrower is ready for their next loan, and yours is just as easy. So definitely like that. So when you were first founding the company, was the name? I mean, the name fits so well with what we were doing with mail, and it's a great name. Is that the first name that you guys like landed on? Was that easy, or did you go through a lot of names?
I actually don't remember how that process. I'm sure it was very unscientific, probably probably sitting around drinking beer or something. But
I mean, it's
uh,
pretty.
I don't recall that being a huge ordeal. But it wasn't interesting from a branding perspective. Top of mind, it still works. But once we started to frame ourselves as a technology company, the CRM and marketing automation piece of what we do is referred to as Surefire.
Right.
And for better or for worse, that it's almost like we have a brand identity issue, because some people, I don't even know if they realize we're the same company.
Hmm.
But that's kind of the technology wing of what we do is Surefire. And I do remember the process for coming up with that name, because it was shortly after the financial crisis, started going into a big refi boom, and it was make sure you get the refi, Surefire. And
Sure.
we would have the REFI in the middle of Surefire was like in a different font for refi.
Nice.
So I do remember that thought process.
That's cool. I never put that together. When we're talking about you guys at Sales Boomerang, it's always Surefire top of mind, as if that's like one big word. It's Surefire top of
Yeah.
mind. Cool. So kind of jumping to the next topic. You went over a lot of this, but what do you think makes Surefire special compared to the other CRMs that are out in the market right now?
It really goes back to the heart of it. It's that easy button mentality.
Hmm.
If you think about it, a CRM and even a marketing automation platform, it's a shell. It's an engine, and you
Yeah.
have to do stuff with it. You have to come up, okay, well, what are my workflows? What's my content? What are my email templates? Like none of that is there with
Right.
your traditional off the shelf CRM. And so we've always been, borrower first. When you're going through your loan process and your loans and application, what would help me as a borrower? What would I like to see?
Yeah.
What would help make this fun or easy for me? And that's where we start. And from there, we generate the content around it, and then we build the technology to deliver said content. So our content is you can compare CRMs all day long. You can do your checklist exercises. We like to think we do things better than other folks, and I'm sure there's other things other folks are doing better than we are. At the end of the day, our content is best in class, and I don't think it can be touched in the industry. And so, not only providing the shell and the engine to our customers, but having that easy button where it's just out of the box. Here's all of our blueprints for success and our best practice as it relates to content and campaigns.
That's
So
great.
that on day one you go live, you can start getting value out of our platform.
That's great. Do you have certain, I'm sure over the years you've had learnings, but do you have certain templates that you recommend to your clients that perform a lot better? Or are you constantly testing that? How are you treating that from a product standpoint?
Some of my favorite ones. So people like to know about themselves and about their property,
Yeah.
and so we have content. Great examples are around the neighborhood content. It's an email template, and it's not only an email, but it's a dynamic video. I don't know if you've seen any of our dynamic video content, but it's kind of an animation style video that, okay, I know your address, so I'm emailing you, and this video is going to go through and give you a bunch of different demographic, financial, real estate, is your value going up or down in your house. So all that stuff is dynamically fed into this video, and we send that out, once a quarter, once a year, depending on the customer, how often they want to send it. And
Yeah.
so people just generally like knowing how their investment's doing and like knowing what's around them. So that performs really well. Another piece that I'm personally a big fan of is we do a quarterly mortgage checkup, and it's sort of like a red light, green light, yellow light type piece that
Yep.
says, okay, green light, you can refinance right now, which those are always great. But I often find that the red lights, like, hey, you're good, you're in the good loan right now,
Yeah.
you don't need anything from me. I often see those performing well and resulting in referrals because I like to give the example of, I took my car in at one point in time because it was making this weird noise. Got to the car dealership or the mechanic, and he's like, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. It was like a loose nut, and they tightened it and didn't charge me anything."
Yeah.
And I don't know any better. He could have charged me $500 and said something was wrong. So that level of, hey, I'm not constantly trying to sell you something, is what builds trust. And so I really like those types of emails that we send out that say, hey, we did our job right the first time. You're good. I'll keep an eye on it, but you know, I'm not I'm not trying to sell you anything right now.
And then from a tracking perspective, you have something set up so that you can track those back to referrals, so that the red lights, resulting in referrals for your company.
We do.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really great, and I really like that as well. I think you were talking through some of those opportunities. My son has a postcard hanging on his wall from somebody. I don't know who, and it was a classic car, and on the license plate they had printed our last name, and he loved it so much it's still hanging up on the wall. So
Was it from a mortgage company?
it was from a mortgage company. Yeah, so
I have a 95% degree of confidence that was from us.
that's that's
Yeah,
awesome.
because to my knowledge, we're the only people in the industry that have that. It's called variable image printing technology.
Okay,
So the car is a great example. Another one, it's like if it's your birthday, they can write your name and icing on the cake,
that's
and so
cool.
it's really neat. So instead of just print, it's actually part of the image that gets modified. It's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah, it
So
was cool.
that was likely our postcard.
That's awesome. So I'll take a picture of it and send it to you afterwards.
Okay,
Pretty cool.
that's funny.
Yeah. So those little touches definitely help, and so tying back to your marketing results there. So do you have everything tied in some fashion so that you know how everything's performing? And did you build that yourself, or is that something that you're working with another company for?
No, that's all proprietary. And unfortunately, how accurate it is depends on how our customers have implemented it and
Okay.
whether or not they're actually utilizing the features in our platform that do track, where this loan come from.
Right.
So it does involve some level of effort on the customer side to enter that data, but assuming they're doing it, it's all proprietary.
That's
And then
great.
one thing we also do, and this isn't really on the referral side, but this is on the repeat customer side. Part of our ongoing blueprints for success for our customers is doing a biannual and sometimes quarterly, depending on the size of the customer, account review. And as part of that, we'll let them know for their particular account which emails and texts are performing better than others, not only in terms of open rates and unsubscribes and things like that, but we're actually able to track for repeat customers what was the last piece of marketing collateral they got out of Surefire before they made application.
Ah,
because you can make a pretty strong correlation that, okay, that was the trigger. That's what either reminded them they should call you, or whatever. And so we're able to show them for that last quarter or 6 months which of their templates are performing best in terms of driving repeat business, which is pretty strong as well.
do you also see a correlation with number of contact points before a borrower is reaching out?
Uh, Not really, because what we're talking about right now is really on the post close client for life repeat customer side.
Mhm.
Number of touches before a closing would be more on the new lead side, I would think.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, because the repeat customer, it's like it could be one email, it could be 20. It just depends on whether their situation is such that they would need another mortgage.
Right.
But you could start to make those correlations on the lead side, but no, we have not done anything with that.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about client for life? I really like that term.
Yeah, client for life is one of our blueprints, and that so once you've and this kind of goes back to the core of our business back when we were founded is, okay, great, you closed this loan for David Orsini. How do you make sure you get the next one, two, three, four, five loans that he does over his lifetime? What are you going to do to stay in front of him so David remembers you? And that's a series of emails, of postcards, in some cases text messages, to just make sure that worst case scenario he forgets your name and moves on to the next guy to get his next mortgage.
That's great. So what I find really interesting is we have very similar mentalities. So I joined Sales Boomerang back in December, and after taking everything in, hearing what Alex and the rest of the team thought where we should be moving with the company, what our value props were, all that good stuff. It really came back to the borrower, right? So make sure that what we're building is giving the loan officer what they need to make the borrower's life better. And we have a similar concept to client for life, where we're building towards being able to provide them the right details so that they know when to reach out again. And like I said, that the whole goal is to let you know when your borrower is ready for their next loan. And it sounds like you guys are trying to do something very similar, just from a different perspective. So I
Yeah, yeah,
really
there's
like.
a lot of synergies, and that's why I think our integration tends to work pretty well because there's a common goal in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is great. So, um, one of the questions that I had was, what's coming next for Surefire top of mind? Like, what is something that you're excited about that you're allowed to talk about, obviously.
Our power call functionality is relatively new, and I'm pretty excited about that. We've been sending emails and text messages for a long time. Power calls actually allows you to make outbound phone calls from our platform. So it'll based on the data coming in either from Sales Boomerang, from the LOS integration, whatever. Various phone calls can be scheduled, and each phone call has a script associated with it. So it takes all the work out of it. So we call it first and 10. You log in first thing in the morning, make your 10 phone calls or however many you have. It takes the work out of it and the thought out of it because you know exactly who you're calling, why you're calling them, and you know exactly what to say.
Sure.
Um, you're also allowed to have pre-recorded voicemails for each script. So instead of saying, "Hey, Mike, I'm calling to let your loan's approved," it's, "Hey, this is David over at Top of Mind or over at ABC Mortgage, calling to let you know your loan's approved." That way, it's evergreen.
Right.
But so in the event that you don't answer the phone, I can click a button. The system stays online and leaves you that voicemail. I move on to my next call. So it could be a pretty big time saving.
Yeah, absolutely. So last time we talked, you were kind of you showed me this functionality, and we went over it a little bit. Since then, is it up and running? Are you seeing really good results with it?
Yeah, it is up and running. And we actually showcased it at the Digital Mortgage Show. I don't know when that was, like a month or two ago. And we got second runner up with that.
Awesome.
So it was a mixture of that functionality with our integration with Blend and other POSs, to where it's pinging the loan officer to make these phone calls. If, for instance, you're stuck on step 3 of the loan application, which is your financials. So now I know, okay, I'm calling Mike because he's on financials. Here's what I need to say. If you don't answer, here's the voicemail I'll leave and the follow up text that goes out. And so showing all those things working together
Yeah,
seemed to really impress the judges, and that's resonated very well in the field.
that's awesome. Yeah, congratulations on that.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, and for our mutual customers who are using the power call feature as well, same thing happens. Some of the triggers that you're feeding back into Surefire, those can schedule phone calls. So instead of just emailing them or something like that, or just letting the LO know, we can actually ping the loan officer to make that phone call.
That's great. Yeah, we should definitely highlight that. I think.
Yep. And
Um,
we can even work with you to come up with some of those scripts. Like, okay, great. What are you coaching your customers to say when some of those trigger alerts are coming through? So we can use that as content in our platform. So those phone scripts are just there.
yeah, that would be great if you want to connect me with the right person, so that we could start to have those conversations. I think that would be
Yep.
really powerful for our mutual clients. Um, cool.
We also do have one super secret feature that we've been working on that I'm not allowed to talk about, but that will be coming to market probably in the next month.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Well, how about this? Once it's coming to market, just give me a call and we'll talk about it and then add it into the talk track then.
All right.
That sound good?
Yep.
Okay, great. So what keeps you up at night in regards to your business?
Oof. Um, that's a good question. Uh, I mean, the landscape is very competitive, but that's nothing new. So I don't, and that's nothing unique to us. So I
Right.
don't know if that's even a good answer. Um, it's interesting to see what's going on with the market, and then to think about where I think it might be in a year or two. Once are we going to get to a point where rates are just so low that everyone has refied, and now what?
That that
Um,
that is something we think about as
yeah,
good thing. Good thing.
because it can't. It'll eventually just get to zero. It can't go lower and lower and lower forever.
Yeah.
And so that's I wouldn't say that keeps me up, but it's something we think about. How do we, and not that we're not doing it today, but how do we better serve the purchase market once we kind of get out of this? And we've got plans in place for that. But that's one. It's other than that, I mean, I can't really think of one big thing that just keeps me up at night. It's actually it's been going quite well lately.
It's
I can
great.
I can tell you a lot of stuff that used to keep me up, but I think we've gotten past a lot of that.
You solved it. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's how it should be.
Yes.
Um, so when I looked at your background, you made the shift from COO to CPO 2 to 3 years ago. What was that like? What's the differences? Why did you make the change?
So that coincides timing wise with we went through a transaction with a private equity firm to help us professionalize and grow our company.
Yeah.
And so prior to that, I was not only overseeing product like I am today, but I was also overseeing the engineering side. So I kind of served as our CTO.
Oh.
And just look, full disclosure, I have no business being a CTO. I did my best and did what I could, but that's just it's not my strong suit. So we were able to bring in a very qualified CTO who's done a fantastic job professionalizing the engineering side of our company, and that freed me up to focus on the other half of what I did, and that's really what I'm passionate about is the product side, and getting to tell the engineering firm all the cool stuff to go build.
Cool. So what is your approach there? How do you decide what to build next?
We have it broken up into silos. A lot of some of it's blocking and tackling. Fixing bugs. Nobody's excited about that.
Yeah.
We have a silo for integrations, so that's where companies like Sales Boomerang come in,
Hmm.
and then we have a silo for planned work, which is okay. That's our roadmap. That's the stuff we want to build, and then the other silo for unplanned work, which is uh, you know in full transparency, that's where most of the great ideas come from, is the unplanned work where one of our customers come to us and says, hey, it'd be really neat if you did this. And that's kind of going back to the origin story of where we came from.
Yeah.
Hey, it'd be neat if we could send emails. So just having our ear to the street with good relationships and partnerships with our customer base, most of my good ideas come from our customers. customers. I'm no genius. And so I find that often our unplanned silo performs way better than our planned silo, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think I think it's the right thing, honestly.
Yeah. It,
I I am very much in the camp of involving customers throughout the whole product process, listening to your customers, seeing what their pain points are, and bucketing that back into work that you, from a product standpoint, know is going to be beneficial to them, add value to their lives, and reduce their overall pain. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the way that good products are built.
yep.
Um, so, for you, what makes a great product manager?
Uh, I don't know that I have the right definition of this because where my strong suit is, since I do have, I told you I had no business being a CTO, but I do have a relatively strong technology background. So
Okay.
I think my strong suit is internalizing what I'm hearing from the customer
Hmm.
or from us, where we're saying, okay, this is what we want to do, and really getting into the, crossing I's and dotting T's. I said that backwards. Of the how, like, okay, great, we want to be able to send text messages. All right, well, what does that mean specifically? How are Okay, well, how are you going to send the text? What does that look like? What are the different use cases? That's really where I'm good, and where I have not been very good in the past. And again, kind of going back to the fact that we've been professionalizing our organization and bringing in people that know stuff that I don't, is really like the go to market side, the pricing, things like that. Those are not my strong suits. So I'm not answering your question, but I guess to answer your question, for me, a good product manager is someone who can do those things and knows how to, okay, fine, you've got this cool, sexy new feature. Now what? How do
Right.
we evangelize it? How do we go and make sure our customers know it's coming and know it's coming enough in advance so they can actually plan for it to come and get the word out to their users? And uh, those are things that we now are doing way better than we used to, now that I have some help on that side. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm bringing people in onto my team, is that skill set of taking that great idea that's been implemented and actually showing our customers the value and getting them to implement the idea.
That's awesome. That's great. What you know, from those people that you're bringing on, what do you feel like is something that you learned, and and or are continuing to learn from them?
I'm not sure I knew what go to market meant 2 years ago. Um, we would just build stuff and it would show up in the UI one day, and our customers would be like, "Hey, what's this?"
Yeah,
So that's no way to run a technology company.
we have that problem sometimes too. So it's a problem that younger companies have. So it's good to know that you're getting past it.
Yep.
Um, so what do you think is next for the mortgage space? We're both working towards solving problems for loan officers and businesses. What do you think is next in the mortgage space?
Oh, geez. I feel like I had a much clearer image of that pre-COVID.
Yeah, that's changed.
But you're seeing some, you know, recently, prior to this year and late last year, I feel like it was consolidation. Um, I think within the past 12 to 24 months, we've been seeing more and more growth on the broker side. Um, and so some of our enterprise customers are moving more towards direct to consumer. We have some of our enterprise folks starting to dip their water in TPO to service the growing broker model. So I think the mid market to me seems to be growing and catching some steam. And so we've been thinking about internally, how do we better serve, and not that we're going to stop serving the high end of the market, but if we're seeing some growth there, how do we uh, somewhat tailor some of the product or even some of the content just for that growing segment?
Sure.
Again, we talked about earlier, at some point the refi boom has to stop. It has to. I feel
Yeah.
like we've been in like this 3 year long refi boom. So that will go away, and so it's we're going to be back into a purchase market, and for better or for worse, people will be making less money probably, but in my opinion, your traditional organic loan officer will outperform your rocket mortgages of the world in that purchase market. And so that's, to me, that's our bread and butter, is servicing that organic loan officer, helping them stay in touch with their leads and their borrowers. So hopefully, the refi boom ending will be sad, but just from a sheer that the pie will become smaller. But I foresee the organic loan officer in the mid market gaining share of the pie away from your rocket mortgages in the next couple of years, in my opinion.
Sure, that makes sense. So, you know, to kind of spit back what you just said, the tools that you have in your system and the touch points that you create between the loan officer and the borrower will benefit the organic loan officer who can focus on purchases once the refi boom is done. Is that right?
Yes, and it's not just keeping in touch with your contacts. We also have a large portion of our platform is geared towards, courting and co-branding with your realtors,
Hmm.
and that's going to be more important than ever when the refi boom is at an end.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. What inspired that connection, and what are some of the features there that you offer?
Yeah, I mean, loan officers are always trying to court business from realtors. All of us have great service. All of us have great rates. That's what every loan officer says. So what's going to differentiate you? How are you going to win that realtor away from the person they've been using for the past 2 years? Well, what are you going to do differently? And so we try to provide tools to our customers to help them go out and court those agents. Um, you know, Pretty much anything in our vast library of award-winning content can be co-branded with your realtor partners. And we even have tools to make sure it's done in a RESPA compliant way.
Nice.
Um,
That's
so
an important part of it.
it is. All the and process videos we send out, all of our emails, flyers, single property websites, all of these things can be co-branded with your realtor partners and help add some value to both of you in the eyes of their mutual customers.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is a key element, and definitely like to pick your brain on that more. We're talking about some ideas internally here, so as we get a little bit further, I'll give you a call to ask you some questions there too.
Yeah, great.
Cool. Um, so that was pretty much all the questions I had overall. My last question is sort of self-serving, but what is your favorite part about working with Sales Boomerang?
So for a long time, top of minds had what we call our opportunity alerts,
Mhm.
and I think they're awesome. I think they've performed very well. It's things like because we know we have data in our database on what people's rates are and where they live, and we've been able to alert our customers when someone could potentially refinance or when
Sure.
someone's home has been listed on the market. And those are fantastic. You guys have taken that from, if we're from A to F, you're from F to Z. Like, so you've taken that a whole another level. So the predictive stuff you're able to do, the tracking stuff you're able to do, it's how do you get the most value out of your existing database? And I think you guys do a fantastic job of that. And it's a great marriage because those alerts getting fed into Surefire, they can build automation around those just like they build automation around everything else. Scheduling those phone calls, sending those text messages. So it's a pretty powerful combination.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really, when you guys walked me through the platform a couple months ago, I was really blown away by that piece of it, how everything could just come in, start automating. From my perspective, it just makes loan officers' lives so much easier and allows them to focus on what's most important. So, yeah,
Yep.
totally agree with that assessment. Also, David, did you have any questions for me, or anything else that you wanted to add to the conversation?
No, this has been fun. I always enjoy conversations like this. Don't really get to tell the backstory very often anymore. But no, I look forward to continuing the dialogue. We talked about syncing back up later to talk about how can we maybe put some phone scripts together for our mutual customers that are utilizing power calls. And I don't even know to what level with the alerts you're sending over now, if we have, I'm sure we do, but do we have email templates? Do we have text templates just out of the box, or are we relying on the customer to do that themselves? And if it's the latter, I think you and I should fix that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, just connect me with the right people, and we'll start to look at that stuff.
okay.
Uh, yeah, I'm excited about all of that, and I think if we can prove increased conversions there, or just overall call rate or connection points, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think I've put two and two together there though. I was discussing earlier we do like a quarterly account review with our customers and show them which templates are performing best in terms of conversion. I think we could pretty easily make the same correlation with the alerts you're sending over.
I would.
Here are the alerts that came over from Sales Boomerang over the past 6 months, and here are the ones that converted. That's all data we have, so there's no reason we can't start incorporating that into our reviews.
Awesome. I would love that. So definitely let's have a follow up item on that one too. And I'll send an email after we jump off just to highlight the few things that we want to connect on, and then you can make the connection to whoever on your side we should be working with.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Thanks, David. Thanks for your time and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you do the same, Mike.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, bye.